Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry, known the world over as Chasing Artwork, and screenwriter extraordinaire, Dan Vadeboncoeur.
We'll see. You know.
If you are a recent devotee of the podcast, then perhaps you would want to listen to our last posted episode called "How Meathouse Got Made" or written. It's our imaginary movie that we made in a live podcast recording at FanQuest.
Yeah.
And Dan participated, and Justin participated, and Stephen Kostansky participated, and so did I. And the germ of it has become a full-grown virus in Dan's mind. He wants to do the first draft of the screenplay. Tell me about that.
I'm excited about that.
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you for forcing me to be on the panel. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, you resisted a number of times.
Because I had other stuff. I was like con brain, other things going on, other things I had to worry about. So I was like, I'll just get it started and then leave you guys. And that's kind of what I was doing but you know what? That is the ultimate mistake of the con organizers, to get too worked up and not to sit and participate and enjoy the convention itself. And it's something that I did vow to do this year. So thank you for doing that. That was a lot of fun. It was a great time doing the panel, and it was so much fun to do it with Steve, somebody who actually makes these movies, to actually like someone who come at this from a practical perspective, who, like, we're talking about making a meat wall. He's made some meat walls. He knows how to do that. So that was really cool to get his perspective on that stuff. And I think honestly, it's a solid idea for a movie. He said to me afterwards, he said that was so much fun. He's like, to come up with an idea that's solid in that amount of time. He's like, that is 10 times better than most of the stuff that comes across my desk. He says, like, sure. most of his stuff he sees is like the latest Insidious ripoff or something like that. He sees a lot of crap, but that is like a good, solid kernel of an idea that now needs to be expanded.
So, and for the dear listener, what we did was we used our 13 Horrors model, our story break episodes. You can look them up. They're in the titles of most of our podcasts if we've done a story break. It's 1 hour where we just add to the idea based on the genre framework that is already established around a particular thing. We use horror because there are rules in horror that everyone can kind of agree on, and you can decide, is this body horror, is this a slasher film, and people kind of know the rules. It has a kind of an internal vocabulary different from a lot of cinema. Horror is easier to digest to the layperson in a really quick and dirty 1 hour story.
Do you think it works better for horror than for other genres?
It can work in other genres, but I have found that you need to have rules. You need to have the lane to stay in. And horror, people know what a horror movie is.
Most people don't like them, I've discovered.
No, a lot of people don't like them. But everyone knows what they are.
So are we just wasting our time by making them? No, of course not. Because a lot of people love them. People who love horror really do love it, right?
That's right. Now, you can do the same thing with science fiction. We've done it on our own story break episodes. But you have to sort of set the parameters. Right. And just to respond to what Stephen said to you, the idea that it works so well is actually, I think, a bit false. It's the magic of us only having an hour and not having to solve any of the problems that we set up. So the story break in an hour is really great, but we've done that before where we then take that and extrapolate it into a script, right? Either a short film like we did with Love Song, or a longer work like we did with a project that is, I think, tentatively titled What the Water Keeps. It starts as a story break, and then it expanded out into a feature.
When the rubber hits the road that you realize all the things that you didn't think about, you didn't have to think about.
That's right.
I was going over this. I was kind of analyzing this in my head the other day about how especially before I was like making stories and making comics, I'd have these ideas for stories in my head, and they were just amazing, right? They were like the most epic, the best stories ever. But when you try to get them on paper, it falls flat. And I think what happens is when you tell that story in your head over and over again, you have access to the pedals of your emotions as well. Absolutely. So you make that epic in your head, you make that really sad in your head, and it's really easy to do that in the confines of your brain. As soon as you need to bring it to something physical, get it into words, get it into images, you realize how much harder that translation is than when it's just, the chemical dance in your brain.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, related to that too, when we do the story breaks, how I think of it, even though I get probably more excited than I do about most things in life, is when we're just using our raw imagination to solve that little puzzle. Like it's like diffusing a bomb, right? You're just trying to get it right. How I think about the story break as a useful exercise is as an exercise. You have to finish it. You got to get all the way to the end of the story in order to have done the exercise. If you're doing exercise, if you complete the whole exercise, then you get stronger, to use that metaphor. But if you only do part of it and then you quit, right? It's good. You're going to be off balance.
It's easy to make one puzzle piece that looks really
That's right.
good.
It's really easy to come up with a cold open or the beginning of a story or the cool thing that's going to happen at the end. Putting them all together and then saying, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, this is the detail from the beginning that makes the end work. And then say, and now we're done. Is so useful to build that framework in your head of what is the shape of the story. I've said a lot that a movement gives shape to form. And so a fish is the shape a fish is because of the water it moves through. A bird is the shape it is because of the air it flies through. A story is the shape it is because it moves from person to person. And in order to move from person to person, it has to have the right shape. It has to have someone, somewhere, wants something, a complication ensues, and that complication is overcome by some detail that you thought was small at the beginning, but it turns out to be important. And so you're glad you were paying attention. That's how you complete the emotional circuitry of, ooh, what a great story. I can't wait to retell that. Right? And then what another person is doing is they're trying to hide that detail in the beginning when they're retelling it, and then they're trying to make it important at the end, and they're trying to elicit that same emotional response.
I don't like that thing.
That thing puts bread on our table.
Is it alive, Daddy?
I wish I could be part of more writers' rooms. I love listening to people who work on, especially on like shows,
like big shows,
like the Rick and Morty writers' room. They get comedians and like funny, like all these writers together, and they just pitch idea after idea after idea, and like.
I've only been involved in writers' rooms in small capacities on film, television, or
is it as
theater.
Magical as I imagine?
It's even more magical than you think when it's working. But it's actually.
I just picture a bunch of slobby dudes sitting around a table.
No. The best ones I've been in. The constituent parts of the room were very different. Diverse groups of people, diverse groups of skills, diverse groups of writers, and then everyone's bringing something that someone else can't do.
Is everybody kind of fighting for the spotlight and trying to like turn things towards them, or it must be hard to put aside your ego and okay, we're gonna go with your idea. I had an idea, but we're going in this direction now.
For the dear listener. Red Earth is a podcast also you can search for. We've talked about a lot. It was a theater project that I was involved in with Andrea Sartison and Rick Chafe and Christian Jordan. The writer's room in that capacity was so wonderful. The room was here in the studio. So people came, we met here, and we were doing story breaking for that. And there were moments when Rick would just get this look in his eye, and he would say, that thing you just said, I'll make that mean something. Give me 20 minutes. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And then he would go and do this. He had this like sort of critical, repeatable, replicatable skill to take 2 or 3 bits of dialogue and make them thematic and emotional, and then create a scene with 3 people where they weren't talking about that thing, but all you'd have on your mind was that thing. And he was really good at that. And a lot of that didn't make it into the final. Like we used pieces of his power in the final, and different people have different skills. So if the writer's room is made up of people who can do things that you can't, then it's great. But if everyone has come from the same, if everyone is using Grammarly, then everything sounds the same.
We were talking about this conversation off podcast, but yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then there's nothing original. It's just the cookie cutter version of some bad first draft.
I feel like all good writers need to check their ego at the door for any type of writing. This happens at CTV as well, because we're always we have a process called vetting where we have to check each other's work. It's automatic. It's nothing gets posted on the website without a check, and in that process, they can suggest different ways of phrasing things. They can change anything they want basically to make it better. That's all they care about, is making the article better. And I don't take to heart that they changed my phrasing or they didn't like the way I use this word, or that, oh my God, I can't believe this is beautiful. This is poetry what I'm writing here. How dare they change it? No, of course not. You get it done, you post it, and it's better. It's better for having more than one mind on it. That's what we're getting at here.
Yeah. My editor on Automatic Age, and also on any project. If you have a substantive editor, not a copy editor,
Right.
not someone checking your grammar, but someone checking the story flow, and they make a suggestion to how it's being written. You're going through this right now with Spark Chasers.
I am, yeah.
My feeling is, if it doesn't change what you meant, just agree with them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Just
it's
agree. If it
all
doesn't
about the
change what you
meaning,
meant.
right?
Right?
Yeah.
If, however, your form is part of the function. So, for example, I had one character who spoke in a very particular way, and there was a reason they spoke in that way. I'm not going to change that because it doesn't sound right now. In context, later, when you see it repeated, you will see, oh, this is part of it. So you wouldn't make that change, even though it changes, does or does not change the meaning. So form and function are a little bit different when you're thinking about editing, but for the most part, if they have a way to condense 5 sentences into 2 sentences and it's cleaner, you should probably just say, you know what? Thank you for your help.
Grammarly can do that too, actually.
Yes, but Grammarly does it the same way for every person.
Yeah, of course.
So they will leave out style.
For all the books you've made, let's pick one in particular. Let's just do
Imagination Manifesto.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
How many versions of that story, from the seed of the idea in your head to jotting it out to storyboarding, how many versions do you think before the final version? I think this is really important for
The Imagination
new
Manifesto
people to hear.
is a great example because it was early for me codifying my process. So it went through dozens and dozens of versions. It was a novel 3 different times.
Oh.
It was a collection of short stories other times when it was like, oh, that novel sucks, but maybe I can save these parts of it. And so I separated parts of it out as short stories, and then they weren't quite what I wanted. And then I realized maybe they're not as connected as I thought they were. So then I rewrote them again as different things. And then when it came around to, the write what you know lesson, I was like, well, I'm writing about like occult time traveling superheroes. I'm going to draw some of that and then write about it. And then I realized, oh, maybe I'm making comics, not making. So it morphed a lot. What happened was I had an idea that I wasn't done with. And rather than say this is hard, I said, I'm going to make it something, damn it, no matter what.
And you try different things until something fit.
Until something fit.
Interesting.
Right? And until enough of me showed up on the page that even though it missed the mark, like Imagination Manifesto in this case is a great example, because while I was proud at the time of all those stories, they retained stories that were as close as I could get with the skills I had, but they all missed the mark of what I was aiming for myself. Other people liked them plenty, but I still was like, it's not good enough, but it's as good as I can actually make it without starting over again.
Freddie's glove was missing, and police are speculating the murders were the result of a botched theft, which apparently took place 2 days ago. At this point, the murder weapon has not been.
So what we're doing now, we're not doing that. We want to write a story with the medium in mind. You started out having a story, but not knowing what medium was going to end up
That's
on,
right.
So
yes.
we're doing the opposite. We're writing a movie. We know we want it to
That's
be a movie.
what I do now.
Exactly. Well, you pick the
I work
medium
backwards.
first.
You
Okay,
pick
so
the medium
it's
first.
easier to tell the story that way, right?
Yeah, so much easier.
Okay, so
Right.
let's do this for our movie, which is tentatively titled Meathouse, which is a working title that I don't really necessarily like.
And here's what you'll know about if you're putting up all the money,
Okay.
it can be whatever you want.
What if I'm writing it?
It can be whatever you want in your script, but the person who writes the check for $5 million, if it's a micro budget movie, or $30 million, guaranteed your title is not up to you anymore.
Okay, well, okay.
Your votes are in your dollars.
Interesting.
Right? So when the production house says, no, we're calling it this, right?
And what's the
That's what
trend
we call
with scary movies these days? It's all one word, right?
Honestly, we picked Meathouse because it describes the concept well. I think that's really what we're looking
it's
for.
too much of a descriptor of the monster, so I don't.
feel like
No,
it
but
gives
it's
away
only a
the
description of the monster if you know that's what it is. And
if
frankly,
it was called Meathouse and it took place in like a butchery, I'd be
Then,
down. But
yes.
it takes, as soon as you see it's called Meathouse and it's like, I don't know.
so
Well-
here's the other thing I'll say. We're arguing about the wrong thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you try to decide or argue too much about the title of a thing, what you're arguing about is what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know yet because you didn't write it.
Right.
That's the other thing. Yeah, titles I find usually really cement themselves once the project's getting close to being finished, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to start with a great title
Yeah.
and then make a story from there. We've done that. We're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
But-
And we've done that. But we have. So, okay, so I'll say this. Medium, again, is so important. You can start with the title of a book for young people and build the idea around it because the younger the reader, the more one note the message is often in the book. So you're going to reinforce that message over and over. So it's okay to start and make that the title, right? The Dragon Nannies, the whole book, right? It's not rocket science here. But, Cormac McCarthy would beg to differ when writing a novel with what the title of the novel should be related to, right? The contents. All the Pretty Horses is a strange title for a novel until you read it and you understand what it all means, right?
True.
But for movies, consider now, the title won't probably be up to you. It'll be up to the marketing department, right? The title also is going to be connected to the marketing materials, which will be cut from the trailer. And even as Kostansky made the joke in our recording, they're going to show the climax in the trailer to get people in. So the idea that you guys have that anyone will be surprised that the house is alive, let that go.
All right. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that you have to think in terms about, and maybe, I don't know, you can tell me whether or not it's a bad thing to think in terms of the things that are going to come after this is released. Like, you do have to kind of think in terms of how this movie is going to be watched and that kind of thing. But
Incorrect.
No, you don't?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Too soon.
Too soon, okay.
Too soon. And here's why. What you're setting up as if you have a foreknowledge of what will be cut and put into the final film. And editing is a different art than screenwriting.
Okay.
You're assuming as a screenwriter that you're a better editor than a film editor is.
Okay.
And you're not. Because film editing is a complete art.
Okay, well, let's focus on the screenwriting then. So what do we need to do to get started on
first.
that?
To get started?
Yes.
Well, you should make a treatment, which we did. We have it in audio.
We have to write it down. I have to write that down.
Right.
How long is a treatment?
Well, it depends, right? But
What's like define treatment versus outline?
okay, so a treatment versus outline, and then there's a thing called a scriptment, and everyone who's Googling will find different versions of all of what I'm talking about.
I understand
So
that.
this is just the Gregory method now, and I am not an award-winning screenwriter in any stretch of the imagination. So there are award-winning screenwriters you can look up. Dear listener, follow their advice before you follow mine. But when I'm codifying an idea, a treatment is a one-page document that says everything.
Right.
Reveals all the tricks, puts everything on display, nothing hidden, everything.
And is that meant for when this screenplay gets on somebody's desk, they can look at that and like know immediately if this is for them or
Something
not?
someone can review in 20 minutes and go, oh, is this any good?
It's like a cover letter.
Like a cover letter, yeah. So, and then the outline, again, different people will differ, but for the projects I've been turning in lately, the outline is then a beat-by-beat description of the important parts.
Yeah, bullet form list. Kids
of
go
every-
to house.
and why.
Yeah.
Right?
This and this
And then-
happens, then that happens.
I had in fact, I still have, come to think of it, Google Drive access, but I never signed an NDA to an entire set of treatments, scripts, and lookbooks for a science fiction horror project that was being shot here in Winnipeg that I was originally attached to and then unattached to. So I've seen good versions and I've seen bad versions, and a lot of stuff for a couple of years before pandemic crossed my desk where people wanted me to look at their things. So here's what I've seen. One-page description of the treatment that lays it all out. A no more than 2-page outline that shows the act structure and that you understand what's necessary. And then a lookbook that shows what you have in mind for every actor, right?
Like look like a sketch of them, like an actual drawing of them.
So most people can't draw, so it's
I can't.
usually
Can I get you guys to do
Like
it?
this actor and that actor.
yeah, it's usually like a
Yeah.
pastiche of pictures of other actors and pictures of
okay.
other people's style, and it's like a big collage, like a mood board almost, related to like, here's our guy, here's what we're thinking he would look like, here's our female lead, this is what we're thinking they'll look like, you know, they're going to do this and that and the other thing, and you put a bunch of key set pieces and elements of the set so that when someone goes, what would this project really look like? I have no imagination. I just write checks.
Spell it out.
They flip through the lookbook and they get it, right?
Yep.
This is why, P.S., Hollywood had that proliferation, explosion of comics to film. Because lookbooks are terrible. As a tool to do what you're talking about, they're really bad at it. Comics are great lookbooks.
Well, of course.
Because the whole thing is happening. The beats are happening. What the character looks like.
The
Where
lighting,
they are.
the
What the
tone,
lighting's
yeah.
like.
It's a
what's the
storyboard,
tone,
but
the
basically it's a
And it's
storyboard.
better
It's
than
a
a storyboard because...
Better looking storyboard.
Yeah.
Because a person with no imagination. See, if you've ever looked up real storyboards, you need imagination to understand them.
Mm-hmm.
A comic is doing all that imaginative heavy lifting for you, right? They're giving you the world. And
As somebody, like, I always find, like, coming up with that outline and treatment is usually something I can't do until I've written a whole bunch, right? Like, I can't start with that one-page treatment and then write a script from there.
Yeah.
I have to just get into that script and figure it out from there and then come back and distill it down to that treatment or outline.
Well, this is the real rule here. And that's one I live by and have died by sometimes. Drafts have died by. Good writing is rewriting.
Of course, yes. I
So
believe
you
that
have
for
to
sure.
get from the beginning to the middle to the end, no matter how shitty it is, and then you look at it again, then you look at it again. And once, I mean, most treatments are written after the script is done,
Okay.
not before.
Interesting.
Because now I know what it is, and I
Yeah.
have to be able to sell it.
But wouldn't you write the outline first?
You might, but remember, it depends on how your creative process works.
It's that the outline in your brain seems so great until you start actually like writing it out, and then you realize, okay, this isn't going to connect to that the way I thought it was. This emotional beat doesn't make sense here. Like that's why I never.
And so
when-
we've come into the terrible realm of the plotter and the pantser.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open. Do that for me, okay? Come on, stay awake. Stay awake for me, Dylan. I want you to stay awake, okay? Stay awake. Keep your eyes open. There you go.
I do want to plot it. I'm not a pantser. I'm not somebody just going to make it up on the fly. I'm going to go through. I need to teach myself how to create the structure. I don't like the structure. I hate the structure of screenwriting. I hate when it's like when I'm watching a movie and it's obviously the third act and you can tell because of the way things are happening on the screen.
So we play a game at my house that my kids have started to despise.
I know why. What is
I
it?
pause the movie or the show. I try to pause it exactly at the third act break. Like without knowing the time, I just feel that turn in the story, and then I go, "Oh, it's happening! It's happening!
Yes.
the third act
man.
is happening." And I click it. The second act is more fun. That's usually when the ramp up is happening.
See, but the thing is, if it's a good story and it's well told, you don't notice that, right? Good ones is like you're so into the story, you just don't know. You just off to it. Some of them are are self-aware of that. I don't know if you guys have seen the one with Nicolas Cage, his latest one, The Unbearable Weight.
The Unbearable
of
No,
Weight.
I haven't watched it. I
Yeah.
Well, that one is a self-referential. Like in the movie, they're actually writing a movie about himself, and so there's a part where let's see if we can go bang out this third act, and then that is the third act. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
really good. They did it well. But in this case, no, I want to write a story that is not obvious that that's happening, even though we all know that it happens. And it has to happen. These things have to
So
happen
this is what I would
in
suggest.
the
to
story.
you. Step 1: write out the following thing. Someone somewhere wants something. A complication ensues.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, you've said that before. Now,
Tell me who it is. What do they want? Right? What is the complication? Now, let me just give a little subversion. The initial gut instinct is to say, oh, my main character wants this and whatever. It can be sometimes the villain who sets up that plot structure.
Yep.
Right? In a Marvel movie, for example, the villain is someone who wants something. Right? It's something they shouldn't have. And the complication that ensues is
So
the heroes
for
get involved and
Meathouse,
fuck up
it's
their system.
The monster wants to eat children.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the children start fighting back.
I already want to make some changes here, though. I don't want it to be children.
No?
No, I'm the orphans. Come on, guys.
First draft,
Sexy
it's up
teens?
to you.
Okay.
First draft is up to you.
Sexy teen. Actually, let me think. Let me think. This is what I came up with, kind of just brainstorming on my own basis after I listened to the episode.
No, wait, I'm going to interrupt you and then I won't interrupt you again. For the dear listener, how we do 13 Horrors is everyone who participates is allowed to do their version of that story. Those are the rules.
Okay.
So if Dan has a change, he's not bound to our initial outline. The point of 13 Horrors, the point of the story breaks, is to get you so excited about telling a story that you want to run away and make one.
Yeah.
And
then,
so if it's done that, do it.
So I feel like, and we could all come up with different versions of completely different versions of this.
We have a short story that spun out of the one that became Love Song, which was a short film, and a poem that came out. Like they live as different things.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I thought was, it is we're talking about a lodge. I was almost going to call it a meat lodge because it's a big cabin, the kind that people go to.
Lodge is a great
fishing
word.
lodge, a fishing
Yeah.
lodge, like a big one with multiple rooms, think Twin Peaks. This is what we're talking about, big wooden cabin kind of stuff. And so that is the setting. It is built in the 1800s. I would have to do some research to find out when these things were actually being built and when this was. There has to have been a boom in this industry. People were like building these things. It is built by cultists, as we've talked about in the story.
It could be timber. I can't help myself. I'm breaking.
That's okay.
Now.
It's okay.
Or a ski hill.
It is built by cultists. It is built in worship of, I'm thinking like a Lovecraftian style demon of some kind.
Right.
And the goal of it is to create the demon in flesh in our world. So they've built this house to the specifications, as we talked about in the podcast.
So it can grow across it, kind of.
So it can grow into it.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
growing into the wall, so the flesh will grow over the years, and they're doing something to nurture. I guess feeding it people to nurture it, right? So there's that. That's kind of the idea. So then it's built and then exists for hundreds of years. And then whatever happens, and then we have our current and in modern times our protagonists.
You have it set present day.
It's the present day. So we might learn all this stuff through flashbacks. We might have a first part. Did you guys watch Barbarian?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, the structure of that story is so cool. The way they tell that story is so cool. So watch it,
abrupt
and then we'll
changes
talk
in
about
tone.
it because they do. They spent this first part of the movie setting one thing up, and then they shift it midway through. So we could do that, or we could just do flashbacks. But anyway, we have modern day, whatever that may be. And it's a film crew shooting a horror movie at the cabin. They've rented this place.
We need production values, but we don't have a big budget. Let's
shoot ourselves.
Rent this weird old lodge
and
Maybe
just shoot our own equipment.
Get permits. They're like just kind of.
Like we could set it in the 80s during that era of like everybody was making horror movies and it was like really
everyone
anything.
was ripping off Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, so and I thought it would be funny to have it be a really bad horror movie that they're making, like really tropey, full of all kinds of stuff we could have fun with. Everybody could be a specific kind of character, different character types, comic relief, serious, that kind of thing. We could have a love interest going on between some of the crew members or something like that.
So see here, this is where I would point out that Dan has a power here where he's immediately starting to, in the writer's group, we're seeing the interpersonal relationships between the characters. You can't see it, dear listener, but his eyes lit up as he started to draw with his hand these connections between characters and what they're into, which means that's the time in the writer's room where they would say, great, go write some of those situations. Yeah. Go do it. Like you wouldn't say, no, I want the script to be this because you're in a room together. You would say, go make some stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you have some stuff on the table, those are the ingredients that now we're going to cut up and mix up and stir into the whole thing. So
then we have the crew showing up to shoot. And I also thought about when Steve was talking to us during one of his panels, he talked about how they shot, I think it was The Void, in a school. And so they made the school, like there's a part where it looks like a police station, where it looks like a hospital. They just basically made this high school look like all these things. But he said they had the special effects section was in like the shops area. So I think it'd be cool for the film crew to take over this lodge and like set up the special effects area in the kitchen, for example, where they could do that kind of stuff. And it's a big industrial kitchen. And
or if it was a hunting lodge in the big area where they clean and hang the meat.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like a lot of research will help flesh this out because there's detail here that I can use, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a good opportunity for that.
And this speaks to what you brought up before. The outline is just the structure that gets your brain thinking. But now that you're solving problems, right? Where does that scene take place?
Yes.
What do I need to know about the lodge? Is it
Yes.
a hunting lodge? If it was, when was it retrofitted to have freezers in it? And is that useful to the special effects guys who have to keep their latex molds at a certain temperature?
Or what I meant by what I said there was like your first outline might just be like 8 points, right? This, then that, then that. But like your real outline should be more like 45 or 50 points, but I can't do that until I've written the script. And then I can make the outline based on that. Yeah.
I want my son out of here right now.
Very well. As soon as we can gather the appropriate papers.
You don't understand. If Dylan falls asleep, then...
Another detail that we came up with during our episode was the idea that there was a butler. Was it a butler we're talking about? Being
like
attached.
A groundskeeper, guy.
Who's attached to the creature, so to speak, but he's like a tentacle. We never see that he's attached.
I had an idea for
I really
that
like
too.
that idea. What was your idea?
The limp. We had the limp.
Yes.
We were talking about the limp aspect.
So when we originally talking about this, it was a butler that was like an appendage, almost like an angler with a light, right? But instead I thought, what if the butler was a victim that the creature has grown into and is puppeting? And so the butler would have this really almost over Botoxed face. Like his expressions would be all kind of wonky because it's not a human.
It's literally like a sock puppet.
It's a sock puppet that this monster is manipulating.
And they're all
it's
weird.
a little odd. It's
Edgar in Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Like an Edgar in Men in Black.
Yeah. Interesting. It's like a human suit. Oh, that's so cool. I like that. But what I thought was that we should have more than one person. There should be like a staff or something. Like there's a groundskeeper and a butler and a cook. Like a couple different people that we could. Because I thought it might be a little too obvious to have them physically attached, because we would notice that. But there would be some other indicator, some other physical indicator. Maybe it is the Botox face. Maybe that's enough. Something that
or maybe they're just cult members. If you want them,
maybe they are. I mean, it could be just the cult has been running this resort and killing people for decades. I don't know how that's possible without anybody looking into it. But
what if the cult members take in infant versions of this monster that eventually outgrows them, and then they are just leftover husk?
Okay, two things I want to. Both of you had great ideas, but I will say, in the lived experience as a Canadian, you know about the Picton farms.
Yeah,
people can go for decades, killing dozens upon dozens of people and not be caught. Because they target.
So
orphans.
Is that why you guys want to do orphans?
It's not because we want to, but it's because it lends credulity to the horror.
Okay.
And the original Meathouse outline, having listened to it now retrospectively, we had a lot of class structure.
Yeah, you're right.
Your story is more structured around the relationship of film, horror, and terror to the actual thing. There's a different theme in your movie.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
They're making up something scary, and then something scary happens to them.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the B horror movie that they're making?
I don't. Well, I haven't thought of. I was thinking of it'd be just a version of Evil Dead. Is that's what I had in my head when I was thinking about it? Because I know a lot about how the Evil Dead was made. I've read Bruce Campbell's autobiography. I've looked into that. It's a really interesting story. They killed them. They almost killed themselves doing that movie.
Yeah. So this is a great example. So you would then take something I know about the making of Evil Dead. We're going to call it, Sinister Death, the movie that they're making, right? Whatever it is, so that people get it.
Bad Unalive.
Bad Unalive.
Yeah.
They're making Bad Unalive. And you get Bruce Campbell to come do a cameo in it as the producer, who's like, this will never work.
No. He's the harbinger. He's the guy at the gas station that says, don't go up there.
Yes. Right. See, and I do want to have all that kind of stuff in this. I do think there's fun. Those are fun things the audience will respond to. That they like that kind of.
But in your
Cabin in
draft,
the Woods did this too.
Yeah, it's true.
In your draft, you
Woods.
don't get the luxury of casting. You suggest things in casting, but it can take 10 years for a movie to go from script to the screen. Sometimes 20 years. So and it lives and dies. They talk about development hell. This is what happens: is someone gets attached to a film and they say, "I'll be in it, but only if I can be the butler." So the butler then gets rewritten to be the main character, right? And it's because Al Pacino is like, I would do it, but only if I got to be the butler, right? So they remake it around the people who will give it gas.
Right. Just to get it made. Okay, interesting.
So you're making a chimera is what you're doing when you're writing a script. Something that has to change and have the forms change and have different heads sometimes. Justin made a comment about having ideas in different heads earlier. I don't know if the listener caught that. But.
Zaphod People Rocks. I was thinking about, in terms of the story, like, we don't have to have it as an operating resort. It could have operated as a resort for a number of years and then had to shut down because people were going missing, because questions are being answered. They decided to lay low and shut it down. And then this film crew came in and they're renting it because they got a good deal on it. Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing about this is I am thinking about the practical, like, shooting of this. It would be somewhat location based, because we would have to find an actual fishing lodge with a good looking, like, I really do want a specific look to it.
Well, you just need the exterior of one,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
This is the Chimera problem.
Okay.
Yeah. You're skipping ahead.
Oh shit! Sorry.
First, write the script.
Damn it!
Right.
But
then
what if the place
once
doesn't
the script
exist?
exists,
it does
someone
exist.
Once the script exists, then someone will say, "This is too expensive. Now you have to rewrite it." Scripts are not sacred objects like a novel is. Oh. Right. A script constantly changes as the production requires it to change, right? So the first draft is how you sell the idea, how you get people involved in, right? I want to make this, I want to see this happen. And what you're doing is you're selling a couple of set pieces and ideas. And if you listen to our previous episode, you can hear Stephen go, "Oh, that's the one," right? Mm-hmm. A couple of times where he's recognizing what is the thing that no matter what else had to change over the course of making the movie, that would stay. That was going to be the thing.
And he's experienced that probably a bunch of times, right?
So many times, I'm sure. And when we were working on Agrosomnia, our independent epic horror film, and why this is on my mind is we just, as a family, went out and visited Old Pinawa Dam. We shot for 3 nights, all night at Pinawa Dam around these ruins and structures. Not a single frame of that, I think, made it into the movie. But we spent 3 hellish nights, standing over 100-foot drops and, like, it was so dangerous as an independent film to be on that place. And none of it got used. Because as it went to the edit, those things didn't fit into the structure of the story. Right? So when it get passed on to a different set of hands, a different set of ideas, the things that you think you're going to use, they don't always make it.
And then there's the opposite of that, what do they call it? Shooting the rodeo. Like when a film is being shot in a town, there's a rodeo happening in this town. Let's get some footage from that rodeo.
That's right. Production
and
value.
Find a way to put it right. Yeah. Like unexpected production value that we didn't have to arrange.
Absolutely true.
I kind of like seeing that in movies.
I love it, right? I love that element, because what's happening in that element is that the filmmakers are nimble enough to use what's happening. And I find that lends most movies where that's going on a sense of realism where you're not quite sure why you believe it, but it's because there's things not in their control on screen. Mm-hmm. I love that.
What has the house been eating before the film crew?
Well, it was like I said, they were operating as a resort, so they would like have people come in and guests coming in to do whatever, hunt or fish or whatever they're doing, and some would go missing, and they could chalk it up to like eaten by a bear. It's in the woods, right? So people go missing, and it was not super. And talking about Picton Farm and people going missing and stuff, so it's slow but steady, and then it becomes people questioning it. They shut it down, so it's been kind of in hibernation for years, right? It's been kind of dormant, quiet.
Let me offer you this as a solution to some of those people you want who look weird. There is a hunter who lives in the lodge. He has a cook that lives with him in the lodge. It's a couple of older people, and he goes hunting all the time. And so what they've been feeding it is not its preferred meals.
It's the other stuff, yeah.
And so there is no good hunting in that woods, is what people would tell them.
Yep.
Right? Why it's not a hunter lodge anymore is there aren't any animals left.
Right.
Which would set some
they probably
foreshadowing
smell
in motion,
the monster,
right?
And they've all
they've hunted everything.
Everything's
and
dead.
Fed it to the monster.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you have an old guy. There's a gun on set. There's like a bunch of things around. Which, if you were making a fake movie, right? The old guy with the real gun who has real meat and he's skinning it and hanging it. Like now, let's see that scene. Write the scene now where they're trying to set up their special effects house in the hunter's lodge, where the meat is actually stored. They open it to hang their fake thing, and there's real meat hanging there. And they're like, oh, shit. right? We
Right.
can't have this in here. And then
Or no, we can use this.
right?
Let's shoot the rodeo. Let's
Let's
use
shoot
this.
the rodeo. Yeah, so then they're
yeah.
like production value.
Yeah.
Oh, there's real entrails here. Let's shoot it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Is
we
this
won't tell
taking
the actress.
place in winter or summer, fall?
I feel like it's got to be either fall or summer. I'm not really in the mood for winter. And honestly, if people, I find that I was trying to get my girlfriend to watch The Thing, and she's like, as soon as she saw snow, she's like, nope, not interested. Did not want to watch it because of the snow.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that's a valid
It's like an
reaction.
escapism.
Well, I
thing.
mean, yeah, I mean, The Thing is an amazing story, but if you don't like wintertime, then you're not going to really enjoy it.
Well, and the thing is about how wintertime is also a monster.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
Right?
true.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So yeah, and I think practically this is where, if you write your whole script or your whole story set in a time period in the winter, there are two major gates to get through, because you need all those set pieces from a certain time period, and you need to be able to shoot in winter, but it has to be mild winter, and there has to be snow, or you have to make snow.
Yeah.
Like you need a whole other different crew, right? And we're qualified to talk about this, dear listener, because our studio is smack dab in the heart of the Hallmark shooting schedule. Every other day in early fall.
it's really ramped up right now.
There's
There's been
fake
something
snow
shooting here every week.
everywhere, and Christmas lights everywhere. It's fall, but
They're
there's Christmas
making up
lights.
for COVID loss of.
Right.
Well, they've
The
done that
18
for years, though.
films.
I've seen that over the years. They've always faked it. They try to time it so that they can shoot when there's actually snow here. But if the snow doesn't come in time, they've got the fake snow ready to go.
Yeah.
Right?
It's surprising how real it looks from a distance.
It does, yeah.
too,
The camera really fools the eye. But the other thing is that if we were going to set this in snow, I think it would draw immediate comparisons to The Shining, which is another cabin in the woods kind of thing, and I don't want to do that. So it's not going to be the same as The Shining.
Let me. You said that a writer should check their ego. Let me do this. Until you've written it, comparing yourself to The Shining is
I'm
probably
not comparing
premature.
myself.
No, but I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. Don't worry if the idea you haven't written seems in your head too much like The Shining. Write it,
Really?
and then decide.
Okay.
Because even if Dan Vadeboncoeur right now took the plot of The Shining, just the treatment, and had nothing else to go on and rewrote The Shining based on the treatment, it would be a completely different movie.
Mm-hmm.
But people would still say it's kind of like The Shining.
Sure, but who cares,
I guess so.
right?
I do want to be kind of original.
Dylan. Honey. You should do that.
Too late. I'm almost there. Almost there.
We have the film crew. They show up to shoot. We have different establishing scenes where we introduce the characters, introduce motivations. This does follow a typical horror movie formula. They are going to start getting picked off and killed. They are going to, the house is going to want to start eating these things, and the servants are going to help them eat. And
Do you still want to do the like in the beginning? You're really not sure what the killer is. Is it one of the crazy people in the lodge?
Right.
Is it something in the woods? Is it like
I do like, there should be some kind of misdirection. I do
Right.
like when that's done well. So I would like some kind of misdirection. That's kind of why I'm against calling it Meathouse, because that does give it away. But
trailer.
People will come. Yeah, trailers. People will come in thinking whatever they've thought based on other movies they've seen.
No,
so
yeah, okay.
is the
But they'll
film
come in
crew
thinking.
competent or incompetent?
well, some of them are. Some of them are better than others.
So here's another thing I will say in your structure. Act 1, everything that you've said right now, all happens in Act 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot to pack into Act 1. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying that it will require you to have an overwritten Act 1. You'll write what seems to be like, God, forever. And then once you have it, you're going to pick what stays, right? Now that I've written all these scenes, the person in the kitchen, the person in the meat lodge, the person out in the woods, the person by the dried up riverbed, the person you're going to write all those scenes. And
Dried
then
up
you're going to
riverbed.
look at them, right? And by the porcelain basin.
Goddamn porcelain.
Right? You're going to write all those scenes. And then you're going to say, okay, the purpose of Act 1 is to build suspense from frame 1 until something really bad happens. What of these scenes, which I had fun writing, and now I know everybody's motivation, I know what they're thinking, I know why they're there, I know more about my world, but no one else needs to know, only I had to as the writer. Which of these scenes now, in what order, builds up towards suspense of that
Okay.
beginning of the second act?
Yes.
You're going to overwrite
And then I'm going to pick and choose.
And then you're going to pick and choose.
Okay.
And the easiest way to overwrite it is to cheat. This is why so many people use those recipe cards. Write down your little scenes, right, on recipe cards. Someone's in the thing, they're whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, look, I'll be more specific. Someone's in the kitchen. These are the characters in the kitchen. This is what they're talking about in the kitchen. Flip it over. Here's a few cool lines of dialogue from the kitchen scene, and here's what it means. You've got a scene now. You push that aside. Here's a person walking alone in the woods who meets the groundskeeper, right? Here's what they say. Here's the reason that they would say it that ties to the building of suspense. These are the reasons I'm doing it. And then now eventually you have 20 or 30 of these cards, and you say, okay, here's a bunch of different exchanges. Okay, if I want to make the through line, the fact that Sally is trying to fend off the advances of the director, who is a bit of a creep. You said it was set in the 70s, right? And keeps trying to write in these, topless shots. And she's trying to navigate that all.
Yeah.
And like, fuck that guy. Then you rearrange it so that there's a character to follow now. She has an arc that we need to be emotionally connected to that is separate from the monster because the monster doesn't happen yet.
Well, the other thing is it has to be more than just the monster, right? That's the thing. We can have, like, the natural progression of the story is characters don't know there's a monster. Characters eventually discover there's hints. There's little things that happen throughout. Characters eventually discover there's a monster. Boom, monster is revealed, ending in a final shot of the, well, not final, but the end, the magic shot of the house breaking away to reveal what the monster looks like underneath. That's really what I want to have happen at the end.
Yeah.
But what does it mean? What does it all mean? I don't know. That's the thing. There has to be some kind of there has to be more to it than just that.
I've disagreed many times with what J.J. Abrams has said about the construction of films. I like many of his work, but one of the things he said, which I absolutely fundamentally agree with, and you can watch his talk on this. It's a TED talk he gave. That when people rip off Jaws, they're ripping off the wrong thing. Right? They're all ripping off the monster. But if you watch Jaws and you watch only the scenes without the monster, they're very touching scenes with a father and a son, with a father and the wife, with the town. You fucking hate that mayor. If you watch it without thinking about the monster, there's a lot going on in the film that isn't the monster that makes you care when a bad thing happens to the person.
You barely see the monster.
I've got a pitch for setup. I was just thinking about like everything we were talking about with the beginning and being able to distill all this character development into like a really concise like little blip of the movie. As they're coming, the movie can open with the crew in a cramped van and the producer, director, rich kid, snobby guy in like his nice car driving ahead.
And they're having those two conversations, cutting back and forth.
Yeah, he is with like, lighting girl Jenny, who he's being really creepy with in his Corvette, and everybody else is in the van. We get like a little bit of snippets from everybody kind of getting a bit of their character talking about what's going on in that car ahead of them. And then they show up there and everybody starts doing their jobs, and that's where they run into these other little side characters. Boom, boom, boom.
That's good.
Right?
I like that. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
And those two different conversations are great. Now, what I would do is on that card scenario, you would write what I often do is I write what the person is worried about, right? It's not part of the scene. It's just what they're worried about. So the producer, right, the rich kid, who has been presenting as a rich kid, what I would write immediately is, he doesn't have hardly any money. He's just convinced everyone that he does.
Or he has no creativity and he's trying to buy theirs.
Right, but that's too esoteric for him to act on. So when he's acting like a big shot with money, but then the actual film director comes and says, hey, when are those latex molds showing up?
They're coming.
They're coming.
I send him a check.
Yeah, I sent him a check. Well, I called Rick.
When are we
and
getting
Rick said,
paid?
fuck you. Yeah, when are you getting your money? Now you have something for the characters to be talking about that reveals what they're really about.
Right.
Only characters under pressure show what they're really about. Think of the people you know. At work, right? At work, at the coffee break, no one's under really any pressure. They're all putting on their fake face.
Can we quickly solve...
On deadline, they're who they are.
Exactly.
Let's quickly solve the vehicles in a fun way that we haven't seen before, right? As soon as people start getting killed, you're immediately, okay, let's get in the car and let's drive away. Let's drive to help.
Yeah, let's blow up the bridge that leads, the only bridge that leads, no, wait, it's been done. How are they going to not escape is your question. Now, we solved the cell phone problem because if they're in the middle of nowhere, there's no cell phone service. Probably no internet service either.
And you want to set this in the 80s, right?
Well, there's that too. Yeah, we can do that as well. So, but yeah, it's easy enough for someone to, to make a car not work. right?
Meat in the gas tank. No, I'm serious. Because what's happened is like a tentacle has extruded itself,
so it's
filled
a
the gas
monster
tank,
that
and
did
then detached.
Yeah.
And so they're
something.
like, there's fucking meat or something in here.
Yeah.
And no one knows what it is until later, and you figure out that it's doing that.
It's got to be like a very mysterious substance that they can't quite tell. They're going to come across it in the house in different places. I still want to have the scene where like a door opens up and there's an eyeball or something. I still want to do
that trapdoor eyeball sequence is great.
That's awesome.
What if it's like an ectoplasm that like
it solidifies into it afterwards?
yeah.
Some kind of substance that solidifies into flesh.
So they can move through pipes.
And they can't quite tell what it is, but they know it's a weird thing that's everywhere, right? They see it everywhere in the house. So
now,
cool.
if I was going to go into research mode now, or I was going to, let's imagine we're rich producers and we have an assistant. You would tell your assistant, like, go look for some common substances that could be mistaken for this viscous fluid, and it's whatever year. And, maybe industrial fracking is begun, and this is like a common byproduct of it, so that you can have someone talk about it and say,
gas.
oh, it's just this,
Swamp
right?
gas, right? Yeah.
That kind of bullshit,
Yeah.
right? Where you need a detail. They call it a MacGuffin.
So they can write it off.
They can write it off.
That's not what a MacGuffin is.
No, well, no, it's not what a MacGuffin is. But when we use MacGuffin now in the studio, it just means it's like the way Star Trek uses technobabble.
Yes.
Solve this problem in the dialogue, in the exposition, right? In Austin Powers, they have Basil Exposition show up and just talk about whatever is needed to fill that gap in the plot, right? Literally, the character's last name is Exposition. So you just have to have those elements. But I think the real challenge for you, Dan, would be to have characters act not like they act in horror movies. Immediately want to leave. Immediately say no. Immediately say, someone's been hurt. I quit.
And then leave?
And then try to leave. And then that's what happens in Act 2.
There you go.
It's
That's
everyone
good. Yeah.
doing the right thing. Fuck, your finger is cut. We got to take you to the hospital to get stitches. We're not going to keep going with the production. The director says we're going to, and the strong-headed lighting girl says, fuck your movie.
Yeah.
He's hurt. And now they're trying to leave.
Yeah, but
once
can't.
that blood is pattering on the floor, the creature, which has only been eating animals the whole time, tastes human blood again.
You must have picked up a signal from an 80s walkie-talkie.
You sure it's turned off?
It's off.
Funny, it's warm. Just like a real hand.
What if the producer starts freaking out that they want to leave, and this is his last chance to make his money
his big
back?
movie, yes.
So you can't leave. We cannot stop this. This is like this. I have to
got
make this movie.
And you see how that motivation, where we started with him rich and now he's not rich, so now he's desperate, comes into play.
Rich.
So maybe he does something drastic, right? He like stabs the car tire, right? Like, you're not leaving. We're finishing this movie.
Yeah. Well, that's actually pretty good. He sabotages the car
freaks
in some
out.
stupid, desperate act.
Yep.
Or drives his Corvette into it.
That was my first thought. That might be a little extreme, but
my car. Yeah.
Anyway, I do like that though. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
What else? We got to wrap this up.
Okay.
What
no,
else do
you got to wrap this up.
Well, I do. Yeah.
Dan, let me ask you in the last moments of this podcast, when will we see your outline?
I have to set a deadline now. Well, you tell me, how long does it take to write these things? How many words are in a script, really?
You're asking yourself the wrong questions.
Damn it! I keep doing that.
Okay, what I always like to do is, if I have a project like this, I try to figure out that finish line, right? Like, am I submitting this to a scary movie contest that Universal has going? Is it going to be presented
I'm
at
send it
a
to
Comic-Con?
Steve is what I'm going to do.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe.
Steve, can you help me make this?
Yeah, talk to Steve and find out where he's got like a little blip on his radar that's a little free, and shoot for that, right? Like, if he has nothing going on, if his April is like a little quiet, then okay, April 1st is my deadline.
But I'll tell you how long it should take you to write out your outline.
Well, let's write it one. Yeah.
Half an hour.
Okay.
Give
Honestly,
yourself
like, just as far as
give
actual
yourself
writing
30
time,
minutes,
just
and
do
here's
it.
why. We've already talked it through. You have the recording of this. Anything you've forgotten, you can replay. You have the audio recording of our original ideas. You can steal anything good from there. You can make your outline, bullet points, in a half an hour.
Can we finish up? Did you think of any other good kills?
No, not offhand. I think I have to establish the setting first and really think it through. I feel like a lot of times these movies like take opportunities with what comes up when it comes to these kills. I've heard a lot of people like planning things out based on their sets and stuff like that.
Well, and this is what I was going to suggest, is that so much of that is people like Steven figuring out what's in the budget. What
Yes,
can you do?
that's right.
I want to
Yeah.
have this guy totally skinned alive. And then they're like, well, we have enough in the budget for him to lose a finger.
Yeah.
Right?
I do say, though, I want to base the special effects guy in the movie on Steve. It's going to be Steve.
He should play himself.
He should play himself.
Yeah, like that's a good thing to research too. Like, what for a small film crew? What exactly do you need? Okay,
Exactly.
you need like a cameraman, a light. Do you need a lighting guy, or is that
Well,
like
you're
something
going to
that
need
you-
people to do more than one job, right?
Grips.
Right,
People are
yeah,
gonna-
They're called grips.
Grips,
and they
whatever,
just
yeah.
carry everything and do everything.
Yeah.
Everyone does every job on those small movie
And
sets.
I do ultimately want this to be kind of a horror comedy, in that there should be some funny moments. There should be funny dialogue, funny characters. I can imagine this playing at a film festival. I would love for this to do. Like, I don't even care about big theatrical releases or anything. Like a Fantastic Fest or one of those smaller kind of festivals would be a lot of fun. So that kind of stuff would be like just for fans of horror. That's all I would want to make this for. I don't necessarily, because I think you water stuff down when you try to aim at the masses.
Absolutely
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, and you need a bigger budget.
right. That's right.
Which
So,
you won't have.
no.
You don't know that.
We
This
could-
might get an amazingly large budget.
And then you will lose your autonomy. So these are real things.
Yeah, no,
These
you're
are
right.
real things to consider.
Yep.
You know, like
Would that be worth it though? Would you be willing to give up
with an
all
unnamed
your
with
control?
a director I will not name on a project that I cannot talk about, the ongoing conversation is, do you want $60 million to make your movie? And if so, then you don't get a say on what happens in these moments of the script. Or do you want $1 million to make your movie, and then you can have every say you want? Right? And that is a real legitimate consideration when you're making your...
So in that case, what you have to do is consider, like, it's really about trust. Like, do I trust the studio to go the direction I want to go?
And they won't. You cannot trust that.
So that's a given that
Right.
they're not going to do what you
Read
want.
Iger's freaking autobiography, and all
Yeah.
you will find is a tale of people with money telling people one thing and then deciding that they know better.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
those creative people? They have all the money.
no, they don't.
No, they don't. Right?
Yeah.
So what
All right.
I'm saying is,
All right.
all of that is separate from the script writing. You have no budget when you're writing your script.
True.
You have no minute limit
Okay.
when you're writing your script.
So let's set some deadlines here. I do not feel like I'm going to get really into this until the new year. So let's say 3 months. Is that a good time frame to write something that I could do?
I'm going to tell you right now, you're making the kind of schedule that almost nobody when they're starting out can meet,
Why?
because you're promising yourself what you can do. Instead, write a half-hour treatment. Spend a half an hour writing that
Okay.
outline. Once you have that outline, pick a scene and spend a half hour writing that first scene.
Okay.
So if there are 8 scenes in it, spend a half hour fleshing that out.
So you're saying I should do this like a week-to-week kind of thing?
Week to week.
Actually, what
Don't
really works
plan
for me
the other way, because you will lie to yourself. Oh, I got time later. Oh, I got time later. Oh, I got time later. Fuck later. You got stuff to write now.
All right.
You got to get it done. Write for a half hour. Take a bullet point and flesh it out. Then you'll have something,
Yeah.
right?
And actually, those bullet points, keep like a note in your phone. Every time I have a good idea for my book, I have this like endless note of like cool ideas. And then when I actually sit down to write, I can go through those ideas like, oh, okay, I'm going to flesh this one out. Okay, that one doesn't work now that I'm doing this. You know, like you'll have little flashes of inspiration.
I cannot
and
agree with Justin more.
Keep it in your little note.
I have all these note places, sometimes practically and sometimes digitally, where it's just cool stuff I think would make
Right.
for a good scene of some sort.
But when you sit down to write and look at that blank screen,
Yeah, then you're like, okay, I'm going to write this scene right now. I have this, we don't have time to go into it. What I will say to you,
Next episode.
Dan,
Yes.
small habits create
right.
big results. Don't promise yourself some big result. Write for half an hour, get the outline, then pick one of the points on your outline and write it for half an hour. Then you'll know how long it will take.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do, just to let you guys, let listeners know, and I will come back to this. We'll check in every once in a while on the progress.
But we're going to hold you accountable.
You
Dan.
are going to hold me accountable, but I'm going to do that from week to week. I'm not going to start until the new year because I just don't have time to really. Although I might do
You
that
don't have
first
a
thing.
half an hour?
Well, not today.
Why
okay?
not? You don't have a half an hour?
I have to go back and work. Right
You're
now.
going to take 2 poops today.
yeah,
I'm not going to do this while I'm pooping. That's important.
Type it out.
Okay,
No.
listen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it. I'm going to write it down. But I am going to have the overall goal of having a completed script by the beginning of March. So that is the first 2 months of this year. I will work because I have to have that. I have to have some kind of thing, some kind of date to work towards.
Yes.
So that's going to be that. But I will do that. I will take your advice. I will work on it week by week. I will probably set aside time like every week, the same time every day. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. or whatever it is to sit down.
But just for half an hour.
Just for half an hour. Probably going to do an hour though because I can't do anything for just half an hour.
No, I'm telling you. Set a half an hour deadline for yourself. When you are making excuses, it's hard to talk yourself out of, I just got a half an hour to do. Once you've started, you may do more. But it doesn't count against tomorrow's half an hour.
All right. Well, I'm going to do an hour just because I like that better.
We'll see. We'll see if
By
you
the
do.
time, all right, we'll see. Anyway, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is fun. This is like, I want to learn how to do this. I want to kind of tackle this new project. So I'm very excited about this.
Well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we have actually talked directly about how genre gets made by trying to make it right here in front of you. I'm Gregory Kmichuk, encouraging you to join the fight, write movies, make comics.